And let's begin with getting you the latest updates on the Bangladesh crisis. Sheikh Hasina, who fled from Dhaka along with her sister Sheikh Rahana, has now touched down in Delhi, landing at the Hindon Air Base. Sources telling us that senior IAF officials have received Sheikh Hasina at the Hindon Air Base. She's touched down near Delhi. In all likelihood, she's going to be making her way to London as well. Senior IAF officials receiving Sheikh Hasina. All right, let's get you, in fact, more details now on this. Geeta Mohan is joining us with more. Geeta, a brief stopover in India, we understand?
Well, that's right. That's what we're given to understand. It's a stopover. There is going to be conversation with the Indian administration. And then she will be leaving for London is what we're given to understand. We'll have to wait and see how that really pans out in terms of a decision to go and where she's headed next. But certainly the fact that she is in New Delhi and that New Delhi is engaging Sheikh Hasina, the importance that India and New Delhi attaches to the Awami League and Awami League's administration in Bangladesh, which had really helped stabilize the situation between India and Bangladesh, especially at the borders for the past 15 years. And now those years are over, those days are gone. So Indian administration will have to look at how they're going to engage the government, the interim administration, the army within Bangladesh, because it is imperative that Bangladesh remain stable and secure for India and for the bordering states of India to also remain stable, safe and secure. So a lot is at stake for India, and India certainly considers Sheikh Hasina. Prime Minister Modi himself considers Sheikh Hasina a friend, a partner. And so at a time such as this, she is going to meet with some of the officials, higher officials here in India. We don't have details of who they're really going to be, but expects high-level officials from MEA and from the security agencies to meet her to discuss and assess the situation, after which she'll be headed most probably to London.
Geeta, just stay with us. The information we're getting is that senior IAF officials were present at the Hindon Air Base to welcome Sheikh Hasina and to escort her. She landed at about 5:36 p.m. We're waiting for pictures from the Hindon Air Base of Sheikh Hasina there, touching down near the national capital. Let me bring in Shiv Arur also on this broadcast. Shiv, in all likelihood, this is just a brief stopover. There's a lot of speculation that this could have been for refueling, but from Dhaka to Delhi, barely any distance, not really necessary, especially considering that she's traveling in a C-130J Hercules. So clearly this is a strategic decision taken to stop in Delhi.
Absolutely. The variety of reasons for this stopover in India's national capital, Akshita. Number one, this landing in Hindon presents itself as a new twist, because so far it was expected that she would land at the VIP terminal in Delhi, which is the Palam Technical Area Airport, which is where all dignitaries land. But like we've been reporting, the possibility of a change was likely because she is no longer head of state of Bangladesh. She's now an ex-head of state. That may have been part of it. There may have been some technical reasons as well, because the Palam Technical Area, as we have been reporting, is a little crowded right now. There are a lot of incoming aircraft, military aircraft from different European countries here to participate in the Tarang Shakti multinational exercise that kicks off on August the 6th, which is tomorrow. That may have been a part of it, and therefore the aircraft may have been asked to land at the Hindon Air Force Station. Three, the diplomatic reasons. Possible that India does not want to be seen to be welcoming Sheikh Hasina to the national capital at the VIP terminal, extending VIP protocols to Sheikh Hasina despite her good relations with India, and wants to play that safe. And the fourth aspect is that the Hindon Air Force Station is, if you look at it geographically, it's as good as landing in Delhi, because it is very close to Delhi. It's on Delhi suburbs in Uttar Pradesh. This is where the Indian Air Force's own C-130J aircraft, the very same aircraft that Sheikh Hasina has landed in, are also stationed there as part of the number 77 squadron. That may be also a part of it. The interesting questions now that remain, Akshita, are where is she when is she going to leave from here and how? Our understanding is she isn't going to be an Indian guest for very long, which would mean that some kind of a chartered aircraft, a private chartered aircraft, would need to pick up Sheikh Hasina and her sister and her team, whoever is there. We still don't know how big that team is, and then ferry them straight to London. What appears clear is that the C-130J aircraft that brought her to Hindon cannot be taking that flight from Delhi to London. That's a much more complicated affair.
Okay, all right. Let me bring in Geeta once again on this. Geeta, is there any possibility at all of Sheikh Hasina actually camping in India, or is it a given that she's going to be heading out to London? What does it really mean for India if we actually provide that kind of provision for Sheikh Hasina to remain in the country?
Well, diplomatically and politically at this juncture, it might not deem fit for India to host Sheikh Hasina at this point, at this juncture. Things are really volatile just across the border, and India would like to play a role or a part where it is one that is facilitating force rather than one that could be more debilitating. Having Sheikh Hasina here certainly might not be an option for a longer haul. We do know that in the past, when things were very bad with the Bangladeshi administration, there were family members of Awami League political party members who did come and stay in India. But for somebody like Sheikh Hasina to stay on, I don't think is not just an option, but is not something that they are considering at this point in time. And I'm not saying the Indian side, even the Bangladeshi side. In all probability, she will be here for a while. There will be conversations, and then she'll move to London, which is where they were during their time in exile in the past as well.
Okay, Geeta, just stay with me. I want to bring in Shivani Sharma, who's reporting now from the Hindon Air Base, which is where Sheikh Hasina has touched down. Shivani, good evening. What's happening there? Has Sheikh Hasina left from the air base? Any idea where she's headed?
See, we are right now at Hindon Air Base, where Sheikh Hasina has landed at 5:36 p.m. She has not yet started from here. We are still awaiting more updates, but what we can tell our viewers that Sheikh Hasina landed here in her C-130J Super Hercules aircraft that was given a priority landing at the Indian Air Base despite all the busy traffic out here. We are right now standing outside. This has been a very sensitive movement, a sensitive escape for Sheikh Hasina, and that's why we are not being allowed closer to this area. But we are getting all the information. So there are possibilities. Nothing is being shared as of now officially because of the nature of the situation. So what we can also tell our viewers that there are possibilities. She might fly today itself to her further destination. That can be London, that can be Finland, or any other place, because we don't know where she's heading to. Only speculations are going on. All is on the likelihood. And the other thing is, even if she stays in India, she would not stay for a longer time. That has also been confirmed to the India Today by the official sources. They say that she's not been given a long stay in India as of now because of the nature of the situation, the diplomatic situation, and the security reasons too.
We're getting in more updates of the protocol that was followed when Sheikh Hasina actually touched down in India. Sheikh Hasina was received by the Hindon base commander, Air Commodore Sanjay Chopra. Senior IAF officials, as we told you first here on India Today, were there at the Hindon Air Base to receive Sheikh Hasina. The confirmation coming in that Air Commodore Sanjay Chopra, who's the Hindon base commander, was there to personally receive Sheikh Hasina. I want to bring in Shiv on this for more. Shiv, can you break that down for us? What really does this mean? The fact that Air Commodore Sanjay Chopra was there to receive Hasina, is this part of protocol?
This is part of protocol. The base commander, who is basically the air officer commanding of the Hindon Air Base, is the senior-most officer on site, Akshita, and it stands to protocol that he would have received Sheikh Hasina. She is a VIP dignitary, even though she is a former Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Remember that these things don't happen just by themselves. All of this would have been coordinated at the highest levels of the Indian government, the External Affairs Ministry, the intelligence agencies, and the military, the defense headquarters, the Ministry of Defense, etc. So the highest level of available protocol on site would be Air Commodore Sanjay Chopra, who is the base commander, or what is called the AOC Hindon, Air Officer Commanding in Hindon. He would have received her. We understand that arrangements are now being made at the Hindon Air Force Station for Sheikh Hasina's onward journey now from Hindon to London. It will be a direct flight from Hindon to London. Some kind of a private charter will be arranged. Still very unclear when that's going to happen, or if it is already begun to happen. We do know that the C-130J of the Bangladesh Air Force, which has landed at Hindon, is currently parked, in a hangar, along with the Indian Air Force's C-130Js, which are also based at Hindon. So it's going to be interesting to see how things actually pan out now. It appears that the very fact that Hindon was chosen for this landing and military protocol on site has been extended to the beleaguered Bangladesh Prime Minister means that the Indian government does not want to either get involved or seem to be directly involved in the arrival or for this stopover of the fleeing Bangladesh Prime Minister.
What's clear also, Shiv, is that India is not completely isolated. We're giving a helping hand perhaps, but not also to the extent of giving Sheikh Hasina shelter in India. In all likelihood, she's going to be leaving from Delhi and heading to London. Don't know just how long her stay in India is going to be, or for that matter, who will she be meeting. But there's no doubt that there will be a series of important meetings lined up, huddles that Sheikh Hasina will be a part of. For all of these dramatic developments happening just hours after Sheikh Hasina resigned in a rather dramatic development and fled from Dhaka along with her sister Sheikh Rahana. She's resigned after weeks of unrest, weeks of protests led by a student group in Bangladesh. And this was over a decision taken by the Hasina government of bringing in reservation quota in the job system. That's what triggered this entire showdown. But since then, we've seen protesters taking to the streets of Dhaka, even taking over the Prime Minister's palace, going ahead and lying in Sheikh Hasina's bed, stealing utensils, stealing memorabilia. Let's round up for you all the updates that have come in the last few hours. Bangladesh all set for an interim government led by the army now.
Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina leaving the capital Dhaka in the face of mass protest, demanding her resignation. Sources say Hasina left Ganabhavan, her official residence, with her sister Rehana for a safer place in Mi-17 chopper. Hasina first flew to Kurmitola and then took a Bangladesh Air Force C-130J Hercules to fly out of Bangladesh. Moments after, celebrations erupted on the streets of Dhaka. Protesters vandalized the statue of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the founder of Bangladesh and Sheikh Hasina's father. A huge crowd even stormed the Prime Minister's residence. They walked through the grounds of Sheikh Hasina's residence, boating through ponds and water bodies, cheered with chairs and other furniture, chilled on the bed, looted memorabilia and utensils, and hugged men in uniform. Army Chief General Waqaruzzaman announced in a televised address that with Hasina leaving the country, an interim government would be formed.
আমরা এখন মহামান্য রাষ্ট্রপতির কাছে যাব যে এই ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্মের ব্যাপারে ওনার সাথে আলাপ আলোচনা করে আমরা একটা ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্ম করে দেশ পরিচালনা করব।
Student activists had called for a march to the capital Dhaka on Monday in defiance of a nationwide curfew to press Hasina to resign. A day after deadly clashes across the country killed nearly 100 people. About 150 people have been killed in protests last month, after student groups demanded scrapping of a controversial quota system in government jobs. Bureau Report, India Today.
And news coming in of how our forces were actually tracking very, very closely Sheikh Hasina's flight movement. Fighter aircraft from an eastern airbase were airborne soon after the Bangladeshi C-130 aircraft entered Indian airspace and then kept an eye on it for quite some time. The Indian Air Force, and sources are telling us that the Indian Air Force and Army were prepared to meet any contingency. This is expected, this is normal when our neighbor is plunged in this kind of a political crisis and the outgoing Prime Minister is moving over Indian airspace. It is expected that our forces will keep a close track of the flight's movement as well. Shiv fighter aircraft were airborne soon after their aircraft entered into Indian airspace. Like I said, largely protocol, expected really that our forces will very closely track the developments because of the crisis that Bangladesh has been plunged into.
Akshita, given what was going on in Bangladesh, given the abruptness with which Sheikh Hasina needed to get into a helicopter, then hop onto a plane, and then make her way into India, I'm not surprised at all that the Indian Air Force had jets in the air. They had birds in the air because this was obviously an unfolding, volatile situation where all possibilities needed to be taken into account. Remember, when a military aircraft especially travels from another country into India, or for that reason anywhere, lots of clearances need to be taken. Usually such transits require a great deal of clearances. It takes a bit of paperwork that doesn't happen in a few minutes. And therefore, this kind of unplanned dash by a sensitive individual, someone like a beleaguered Prime Minister, making a dash, really an escape from Bangladesh, to a safe haven like India, would have happened very, very quickly, giving the Air Force very little time to react. And the Air Force, after all, is a military. Acting quickly, reacting quickly, being prepared for all contingencies is precisely what it is trained for. And that's the reason why, as we're hearing, the Indian Air Force would have had a handful of fighter aircraft from some of its eastern air bases airborne, keeping an eye on the C-130. I imagine that the Indian Air Force would have had jets all through the transit route, all the way from, once the aircraft entered Indian airspace until it landed in Hindon. The fighters wouldn't have been escorting Sheikh Hasina's plane, but they would have been in the same airspace, keeping an eye on the plane and making sure that everything went right.
Just on that, Shiv, the clarification that you gave about this not being an escort for Sheikh Hasina, this protocol is not followed to protect Sheikh Hasina in any way. This is being done because her flight was over Indian airspace, yes?
That is correct. A fighter escort for an aircraft, is a very high level of protocol. That's either, something that is ceremonial, or if there is an imminent and defined threat to an aircraft. In Indian airspace, there is no real perceived threat to an aircraft as such, like either a hijacking or any other kind of threat. So therefore, the protocol would have been, just to keep those birds in the air in case some kind of a contingency requires a fighter intervention. So that's the kind of protocol that would have been extended, not the kind of high-level escort you would normally see either ceremonially or tactically in many countries. India has provided fighter escorts for aircraft in the past, but these have largely been, ceremonial or operational in nature. This particular one would have just been to tick all the boxes and make sure everything went right.
Especially keeping in mind how last minute really these developments were. Like Shiv pointed out, there's usually a lot of paperwork involved in these kind of situations to have a leader fly over Indian airspace. Considering the situation that's currently in Bangladesh and the last minute chaos, this would have been a last minute approval also taken from Indian authorities, which is why that protocol was followed. So what exactly has triggered this all-out crisis in Bangladesh? It's essentially been on the boil, brewing for the last many weeks, and now has culminated with Sheikh Hasina having to flee out of Dhaka and stepping down as the Prime Minister. So what exactly led to this unrest? There was a demand, a growing one, to remove quota in civil services that was announced by the Sheikh Hasina government. 32 million youngsters in Bangladesh are currently unemployed. They were angry. They were, in fact, warning the government, saying, do not bring this quota at a time when we don't have jobs. The government, however, refused to go ahead and roll back the quota system. Instead, you had Sheikh Hasina constantly targeting these protesters, saying that these were unruly elements and not students. These were unruly elements, pretending to be students, continuing with the protest. There was clearly a problem with the economy that was going downhill in Bangladesh. There were high inflation rates, and all of this only triggered a further crisis and further anger in Bangladesh. And now that's what's led to the army taking over and Sheikh Hasina leaving. I want to bring in Shivani Sharma for a quick update as she joins us from the Hindon Air Base. We still don't know yet, Shivani, if Sheikh Hasina will be exiting from the airbase, if she's going to be making her way into the national capital, perhaps meeting sub-dignitaries, how long her stay is. So for now, confirm for us, she's still in the airbase.
My sources have confirmed this, that Sheikh Hasina, the former PM of Bangladesh, is still in Hindon Air Base, and the aircraft that carried her is still here at Hindon. It has not gone back, and it will not go back until Sheikh Hasina plans her further journey. That's also what we've been told. So a shelter will be secured for her. Whether she'll be moving out of the Hindon Air Base or she'll be staying here for and wait for the further flight that will take her to her further destination, that also is awaited. But as of now, what we know is it's been 50 minutes or so, and she landed here at 5:36 p.m. She stays here. She is inside the Hindon Air Base, not in the craft. She has deboarded the craft. The craft is empty right now, but it has not flown back. It is still here, and it will be here. And the flight plan for this particular flight has not been filed, because this is a sensitive aircraft, sensitive journey that Sheikh Hasina is taking. So remember, when it was also being shown on the radar, after a certain time, the coordinates were not visible of this aircraft. We are right now outside the Hindon Air Base. We are trying to take any kind of unusual movement if it happens, but we cannot go closer to the air base because of the security reasons. This is a super secure escape plan that was done for Sheikh Hasina, the former PM, and from here she might go to London, she might go to Finland. We do not know. Nothing has come officially, but yes, the sources from the government have confirmed this, that she'll not be staying. If she stays
in all
here,
likelihood,
she will
we're
not be
hearing
staying
London.
for a longer
And right now,
duration,
preparations are underway for her to travel in a chartered plane, because it's virtually impossible for her to take that Super Hercules all the way to London. It will require multiple clearances, which is something that she's not been able to do because, of course, of the last-minute decision that was taken for her to be shifted out of Dhaka. Shivani, we're going to keep coming across to you, but as we track all the updates, and we're putting out really details of the flight path that in all likelihood Sheikh Hasina will take, she is going to be moving to London, is what we're hearing. The question is when and how. At this point, what we're hearing is that she's going to be based in Delhi briefly while arrangements are being made for her next course of travel. But let's break down for you what really this means for India. The fact that you have this all-out political crisis in our neighborhood. First of all, Sheikh Hasina stepping down as Prime Minister of Bangladesh doesn't really augur well for India, because she was someone who was always pro-India. We've seen a huge growth, a huge surge in India-Bangladesh ties under Sheikh Hasina's leadership. And the opposition's anti-India campaign can find roots as well, which doesn't spell good news for India, considering that Bangladesh is our biggest trading partner and vice versa. Northeast border security is a huge concern. The BSF is deployed right now there, and they've confirmed that all steps necessary are being taken. There's no escalation as of now. Pakistan-Bangladesh cooperation likely to begin. The worry is that with the opposition now getting a big voice, a big say in Bangladesh and an interim army government, there's in all likelihood a chance of Bangladesh and Pakistan getting rather close over their similarities, and India as a result suffering because of that. What we've seen, and I highlighted this earlier as well, about how we've seen a huge surge between, in fact, India and Bangladesh ties in the last few years. Let's cut across to breaking news that's coming in right now. Sources telling us that External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has briefed Prime Minister Modi on the current situation in Bangladesh. There was a meeting that's taken place in Parliament where S. Jaishankar has briefed Prime Minister Modi on what's exactly taking place in Bangladesh. So the Modi government right now tracking very closely what's happening in Bangladesh, and the fact that Sheikh Hasina has touched down in the country. There's no question of, in fact, Sheikh Hasina not having gotten approval. She'd have gotten the green signal from the government for her to touch down in Delhi. But now the information coming in is that the External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, has met with Prime Minister Modi in Parliament and has given him a full debriefing on the current political situation in Bangladesh and no doubt what this means for India as well. Okay, let me bring in Shivani on this for more details. Shivani, we're hearing now that the External Affairs Minister has met with Prime Minister Modi, is briefing him on the current political situation in Bangladesh. So the Modi government very closely and rightly so tracking what's happening in Bangladesh.
Bangladesh being our immediate neighbor, it's quite important and very normal that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been briefed about the current situation that is happening in Bangladesh. Not only this, the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has also briefed Prime Minister Narendra Modi on how on the border security is maintained. The BSF is on a high alert, not only BSF, the borders wherever army is deployed and the borders touch with Bangladesh, the BSF and all the security forces in that particular region are on a high alert, and any movements are being tracked because there is a porous border between India and Bangladesh, and anything along the borders, all the movements are being tracked, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been briefed about the current situation. Not only this, when we talk about the movement of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, that too is important here, because about that also it's quite certain it has happened in coordination with all the agencies, the External Affairs Ministry, the security forces, the Indian Air Force. So definitely when Dr. S. Jaishankar has briefed PM about the situation in Bangladesh, he must have also briefed him about the movement of former PM Sheikh Hasina.
The big news break of External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar meeting with Prime Minister Modi in Parliament. Geeta Mohan, a Foreign Affairs editor, is joining us with more on that. Geeta, Dr. S. Jaishankar has now briefed Prime Minister Modi. The government will be very, very closely tracking all the updates that come in from Bangladesh, and perhaps we're expecting also a decision in all likelihood on how really the government will deal with this crisis. There are a lot of questions about whether they're going to overtly back Sheikh Hasina and what exactly will play out.
Well, that's right. The Ministry of External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, High Commissioner Pranay Verma in Dhaka, they were keeping a very close eye, and the mission in Dhaka has been constantly informing New Delhi of the situation on the ground. So for the External Affairs Minister now to brief Prime Minister Modi was just a part of protocol, given that former Prime Minister has landed in India. She's at the Hindon Air Base. We again will have to wait and see who's going to engage the former Prime Minister. And this again comes at a very critical juncture where the Prime Minister is being briefed on the situation, the fact that Sheikh Hasina is in India, and the fact that she in all probability will be leaving for her final destination, which in all probability would be London. So apart from the fact that this is what has happened so far, there's also an assessment that the Prime Minister would have wanted from the External Affairs Minister, as also from the security establishment. National Security Advisor Doval needs no meeting, works very closely with the Prime Minister's office and with the Prime Minister. All of them briefing the Prime Minister on the situation on the ground, what is it that's happening, the army takeover, and whether if there will be stability and normalcy that will be restored sooner than later.
I'm cutting across to more breaking news coming in. First reaction from Sheikh Hasina's family. Her son has spoken out on social media, has lashed out at protesters for the crisis that's currently playing out in Bangladesh. Sheikh Hasina's son has taken to social media and said that there must be fresh elections in Bangladesh. Let's play out for you what he said on social media. Okay, we'll just get you that reaction. He has, in fact, lashed out at the protesters, saying that they kept increasing their demands. There was no question of reaching out to them, but also putting forth the demand for fresh elections. And there'll be a question about whether this is something that the Awami Party, which is what Sheikh Hasina belongs to, is the leader of that party, whether this will be the official position now.
ল এনফোর্সমেন্ট এজেন্সি, বিজিবি এবং কি আমাদের মিলিটারির প্রতি আমার আহ্বান যে আপনাদের দায়িত্ব হচ্ছে আমাদের দেশের মানুষকে নিরাপদ রাখা এবং আমাদের দেশকে নিরাপদ রাখা, আমাদের দেশের সংবিধানকে নিরাপদ রাখা, সংবিধানকে রক্ষা করা। তার মানে এক মিনিটের জন্য কোনো অনির্বাচিত সরকার আমাদের ক্ষমতায় আসতে দিবেন না। এটা হচ্ছে আপনাদের দায়িত্ব, কারণ সেইটা হলে আমরা আবার পাকিস্তানের মতন হয়ে যাব। আমাদের এই যে 15 বছরের উন্নয়ন সব শেষ হয়ে যাবে। বাংলাদেশ এর থেকে আর কোনোদিন ফিরে আসবে না। আমিও সেটা চাই না, আপনারাও সেটা চান না। আমি সজীব ওয়াজের জয় যতদিন আমার পক্ষে সম্ভব আমি সেটা হতে দেব না।
Okay, so that is the first reaction that's coming from Sheikh Hasina's son, who's crying conspiracy. Let's talk also about what this means for India. We explained to you how essentially Sheikh Hasina had a very pro-India strategy, and that was very clear in the last few years, as India-Bangladesh ties have only strengthened since Sheikh Hasina came to power in 2009. Remember, she's a 5-time Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Prime Minister Modi and Sheikh Hasina have, in fact, worked relentlessly in the last few years and actually pushing the relations between the two nations. India's largest trading partner is Bangladesh. Bangladesh's largest trading partner is India.
As Bangladesh plunges into chaos after Sheikh Hasina's resignation as Prime Minister and her escape from Dhaka, India's border security force is on high alert. India, which shares over 4,000-kilometer land border with Bangladesh, had faced a lot of turbulence in its ties with Dhaka. The situation changed after Hasina took office as Bangladesh Prime Minister for a second time in 2009. The 76-year-old daughter of Bangladesh founder Sheikh Mujibur Rahman responded favorably towards India's desire to strengthen ties. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Neighbourhood First policy also played a pivotal role in re-energizing the relationship. This first became evident when Prime Minister Modi visited Bangladesh in June 2015 and signed the long-pending land border agreement. Modi was among the first to congratulate Sheikh Hasina after she secured a new term in January this year. Hasina, however, faced accusations of overseeing a flawed election boycotted by the opposition. India is watching the situation in Bangladesh with caution. Bureau Report, India Today.
And it remains to be seen what exactly the fate of Bangladesh will be. Also, importantly, what it means for India. Rioters have taken full control of Dhaka, it seems, after they stormed into the Prime Minister's palace in Dhaka. Images now coming in of the Bangladesh Parliament also under siege, as protesters are now in the Bangladesh Parliament premises. There's absolute chaos and turmoil as we speak in Dhaka, as clearly rioters have taken over the streets of Dhaka. These are images on your screens of hundreds of protesters sitting where previously parliamentarians sat in Bangladesh. They're sitting on the chairs there, hundreds of them in the well of the house, screaming away. I can see also a bit of smoke there up in the air, and all of this playing out right now in Dhaka, as Sheikh Hasina has just fled, in fact, from Dhaka hours ago. Since then, it's been absolute chaos and turmoil in the capital. Let's bring in Indrajit on this broadcast for more details. Indra, it's going from bad to worse right now. We saw images of the Prime Minister's palace taken over by these protesters. Similar scenes now in the parliament as well.
Well, absolute scenes of chaos from Dhaka and elsewhere, not just in Dhaka. You know, these riots, arson being reported across other parts of Bangladesh as well. I've just got visuals coming in from Bangladesh. A police station at Kotwali police station set on fire in Chittagong. There are visuals coming in from clashes in Dhaka where dead bodies are being ferried in cycle rickshaws. As we just said, the visuals that we are showing of protesters inside the parliament of Bangladesh. There were visuals of protesters inside Gano Bhavan, which is the official residence of the Prime Minister. There is no semblance of governance in Bangladesh and Dhaka right now. You know, ever since Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned and she left Bangladesh, Bangladesh right now is immersed in chaos. The army, of course, has said that it's taking control, it's taking over, and it has said that the process has been initiated to form an interim government. But till such time an interim government is sworn in and they are put in place, it's anybody's guess as to who is running the country. The army, of course, trying to maintain law and order, but the civil administration is not there. So all, you know, there are several, you can imagine the Prime Minister's office, Gano Bhavan, or the parliament, you know, the doors are open, people are walking freely inside, vandalizing. I'm hearing several offices being, you know, set on fire by
there's a complete breakdown of law and order. Army's calling the shots, but doesn't seem to have any control of what's happening on the streets right now. Indrajit, thanks very much for joining us with all of those details. We're going to continue tracking all the images that are coming in from Dhaka, which has been plunged into absolute turmoil. These protesters running riot essentially on the streets of Dhaka. And you see multiple images that sum up right now for you where the story is at, what's happening in Bangladesh. As far as Sheikh Hasina goes, she's currently at the Hindon Air Base near Delhi. Questions over what next for her. In all likelihood, she's going to be flying off to London. But as a 5-time Prime Minister of Bangladesh, we take a look back at really what she's achieved, her controversies, from her rise to power back in 1996 to her controversial rule and now rather sudden and abrupt departure. I'm leaving you with this report on Sheikh Hasina and her tumultuous journey as a politician in Bangladesh.
Bangladesh's 5-time Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fleeing from her homeland, forced to leave and violent protest in her country. Sheikh Hasina has faced massive protest over the controversial quota system that has snowballed into a Quit Hasina movement. Hasina has now resigned and fled from Dhaka, an abrupt and controversial end to her rule in Bangladesh. The 76-year-old first became Prime Minister in 1996 and served for a term till 2001. She was re-elected to office in 2009, serving 5 terms overall. Back in 1996, as the Awami League leader, Hasina led a coalition government since they fell 5 seats short of a majority. But after 2001, when she lost the election, she faced turbulent times, even being banned in 2007 from entering Bangladesh amid a state of emergency. She defied the ban and touched down in Dhaka from UK to be immediately arrested. The support for Hasina was enormous by now, and in 2009, she was sworn in again as Prime Minister, ending 2 years of rule by an army-backed interim government. Her third term as Prime Minister was controversial as Hasina was accused of winning a not-so-fair election in 2013. Hasina's party rolled into victory in an election that was boycotted by the main opposition party and was marred by deadly unrest. It was in a third term that Hasina garnered international praise for sheltering Rohingya refugees from Myanmar.
We want that they should put more pressure to Myanmar government so that they take them back.
In 2019, Prime Minister Hasina returned to power when her Awami League won 288 of the 300 parliamentary seats. But again, an election that faced endless scrutiny for not providing a level playing ground for the opposition. And earlier this year, Hasina returned for her fourth consecutive term, her fifth term overall as Prime Minister of Bangladesh, that has now come to an end abruptly. Hasina chose to so far call the protest as motivated, but now has been forced to bow down to their demands.
When arson terrorism started, the protesting students said they were not involved in it. And we condemn it. We do not want it. When they pulled off from the protest, I deployed the army only then. I did not do it before that. Many want to tell me about deploying the army against the students. I was involved in student politics starting from Dhaka University. I know what the army could do.
In the past 15 years, Hasina has been credited with turning around Bangladesh's economy while winning international praise for sheltering Rohingya Muslims and turning around India-Bangladesh ties. But for now, it looks like it's the end of the road for the five-time Prime Minister. Bureau Report, India Today.